Yo,
What's happening?
Mr. Scartat, how you doing, dude?
I'm alright, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. So to my listeners, it's Saturday night. I have to admit, I've been home all day. Well, I took my dog out a few times, but you know when you just have a day where you don't do much, and as a result, you're just lethargic.
Oh yeah, those are the worst. Well, they're not great.
Oh wait, yeah, I was gonna say they're not the worst. I'm glad I'm not sick or anything, but it's just I got the long weekend ahead of me, and I just told myself I'm gonna take it easy today and lounge. And I made sure I didn't do anything. I didn't play guitar. I didn't paint. I didn't do anything. And yeah, just
Well, sometimes you need to.
exactly that. I had to give myself a little bit of a break. And you know what? I napped. I love that. I took like a 1 to 4 o'clock nap.
Oh, see, then you're good. Anytime you nap, it's a good day.
It was. It felt really good, man. But how you doing? What have you been up to today?
Today, man, not a whole lot. Just working around the house, mostly cleaning up.
Are you up in
I
Sudbury?
work in the studio. Well, what?
Are you in Sudbury?
I am.
Wow.
Moved up north. Been up here a little over a year now.
What are you doing up there?
Making music, a little bit of call center work. Can't talk too much about it because some of it's confidential, but
Gotcha.
call center work is my career, so doing that up here.
I thought maybe you got into mining or something. I'm like, is Scartat
No.
mining?
I would not last in that.
I wouldn't either, buddy. You know what? It's what I do for a living. Sometimes I have to go to mines, and one time I was visiting a mine where somebody had died 2 weeks prior to me coming, and yeah, and his sons were actually working. He had 2 kids that worked at the mine. They were already working back at the mine 2 weeks after their dad had
Oh,
died.
jeez.
And it's like, oh, that's just how we do things here. And I'm like, that's fucked, man. Like people.
No, that's not how it works. Not how it's supposed to work, anyways.
And I won't mention the mine because I don't want to get myself in any trouble. But anyways, with all that, I want to ask you,
Don't
like,
get me in trouble either. They're everywhere up here.
they are. There's a lot of resource. I've been talking to people about that recently with everything that's going on worldwide, and something that's come up is the natural resource that we have abundant in the north that really isn't given much attention on an economic level. Like one of the things we deal with as selling to the mines is the mines pulling out because you can't get to them. Like short of having a helicopter or a private plane that'll fly you in, you're not going to get there. There's no roads. There's no paths.
Yeah, I know a lot of them up here. You got to be flown in, otherwise it's not happening.
Exactly that. So, and I don't think people are aware of the amount of money, even further north when you get up into the Ring of Fire region. I don't know, is Sudbury considered part of the Ring of Fire?
No, we're a little south of there. We're like as south as you can be while still being considered the north.
Yeah, because you guys aren't that, like, I consider Sudbury a drive, whereas I consider Timmins a flight. You know, like...
Exactly, like Sudbury to Toronto on good traffic, 3 hours. I mean, that's not fun, but it's not bad.
And it's actually not that bad of a drive. Like, I like, there's a couple spots in Sudbury that are absolutely beautiful. Like, you get away from the mines and just go a little bit off-road, and there's some beautiful spots.
You get into the forest, the lakes, it's amazing up here.
It is. It really is. It's a beautiful country. But anyways, okay, with that, you know what? Obviously, with the time it is, Saturday, 7:30, we're both missing the Leafs right now and what they're doing. Are you a sports guy?
Yes and no. I'll watch. I'll cheer them on, but it's not like a big deal that I watch them. I used to care a lot more when I was younger.
Say that again. What was the last part?
But I used to care a lot more when I was younger. As I grew up and just had less time to watch, I started to care less and less.
Yeah, no.
16-year-old me, all about them.
I agree.
Back in the days of Doug Gilmore and that.
I even go, yeah, I agree. Gilmore, and I go a little bit beyond. Like when they brought Gilmore back, you remember that? And he played for like 43 seconds.
Yeah, so he could retire as a Leaf.
Well, it wasn't even, it was supposed to be he was going to play the season, but if you remember, he hopped over the boards and took a check, went into the boards, and he was done. That was the end of his career.
That did happen. I've forgotten all about that.
So that was, to be honest, that season I think was the same year that if Jeremy Roenick scored that goal in overtime against us that knocked us out of the playoffs, and that was I think it was
I think
15.
you're right. I think that was the same year.
And that was it for me. And I hear all the pizzazz around it right now.
Yeah.
And I can't help but hop on the bandwagon again and say it's good hockey to watch. That's what's fun. Is I don't know any of these names, but it's entered. It's like the Olympics right now. Like as much as the NHLers aren't over there, watching the games has been entertaining. It's great hockey.
I've enjoyed the games. I haven't been able to catch much because of work, but the bits I have caught have been actually pretty good. I kind of like that the NHLers aren't over there. It makes it a little more even.
Right? I agree. Like
It's
Russia.
not going to be Canada versus U.S. or Canada wins by 20.
I agree. I fully agree. And watching like the powerhouse is supposed to be the Olympic athletes from Russia.
Oh, yes.
But even I was watching like them against the Americans was a blowout, but against the Slovaks, it was I think they beat them in overtime or something. But so there,
I believe so, yeah.
there's definitely a balance that wasn't there with the NHLers present.
It's nice. I kind of missed it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Okay, so I want to ask you, like, I'm pretty sure I remember this about you. Are you a superhero guy? Like, who's your favorite superhero?
I am a superhero guy. I'm a Spider-Man guy.
Spider-Man.
Been a Spider-Man guy since I was like 12 years old.
What is it about him that attracts you from all other ones?
You know what it is? It's not so much Spider-Man. It's almost the same reason why so many people like Batman. It's the villains. The Spider-Man villains were just so much more interesting than everyone else. Venom was so much more complex than everything I was used to. Carnage was so much darker than anything I was used to reading. It's different than everything else that was out there, but still a standard comic. It's weird, but great.
No, it's cool to hear you even mention those names. Like, I'm not into the superhero movies, so I don't know if they've created those characters in the the Spider-Man movies. But I remember people
Not Carnage yet.
No?
They butchered Venom, but they're doing it again soon, and I'm not getting my hopes up, but we'll see.
Well, in Carnage, I remember Maximum Carnage or whatever.
Yeah.
People coming with he was like a red Venom, right?
Pretty much, yeah. It's Venom's offspring.
Is that what the backstory is on him? Venom's offspring?
Yeah.
Who did he fuck? Is he asexual or
serial killer?
What's that?
It bonds with the serial killer because Venom's two creatures. It's an alien and a human.
Okay, and Maximum.
So the Carnage is the alien's offspring with a more human.
Okay, I like it. This is like I've never been able to follow fucking comic, man.
Carnage is. Keep it away from children. I'll say that.
Oh shit.
Carnage can get pretty dark.
And that's what, to be honest, that's where I remember hearing it was in the playground, like grade 4, grade 5. I remember kids coming to the playground with comic books of Carnage and Maximum Carnage versus. And I remember we would ask, who do you think would win in a fight between blank and blank? Like, okay, I'll ask you one. One I've been hearing recently is who do you think would win between what is it? A bear and a silverback gorilla.
A bear and a silverback gorilla?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I should choose bear because I'm in Sudbury, but I gotta go with the gorilla.
Well, it depends what kind of bear.
Bear, because they're everywhere. But I mean, it does depend on the bear. It could be, not the most vicious bear. But I think I'd still go with the gorilla.
I agree, man. I say a gorilla would whip a bear's ass. Like, okay, if you could have a superpower, let's say, what would your superpower be?
Oh, I think I'd have to go with flight.
Yeah, man.
It just seems fun. You could help people, or you could just have fun.
It would be, but
not like some things where, if you're bulletproof, the only time that ever comes in handy is when you're getting shot. I don't really want to be in too many situations where I'm getting shot at. So, flight.
It's the one thing I think I dream of, and I think many share in that dream of where we fly, right?
Well, I mean, that's why riding in an airplane is so much fun. I mean, otherwise it would just feel like riding the bus. But you're flying, it's amazing.
I wish I shared in that, buddy. I go stir crazy in planes. Like any flight more than 3 hours, I start pacing in the aisles, and It's part of the reason I don't travel internationally. Uh, I just can't
See,
take
I like flights. It's the long bus rides that kill me.
Well, yeah, especially the ones where you're standing with your face planted in somebody's pit because they're reaching across your head like an ass.
Oh yeah, I do not miss that from living in Toronto.
Yeah, I guess you
I
don't.
miss some things from Toronto. That's not one of them.
You know what? I have to admit, I somewhat do. I don't live in the city anymore, and even if I did, I drive now. Well, I guess I probably wouldn't drive if I still lived in Toronto, but I
Yeah.
do miss it. Almost as a nostalgic thing, want to go back just for a day and ride the rocket.
No, if I go back and visit family, and if I have to ride the TTC, I'll make sure I time it so that I'm avoiding rush hour, do everything I can to avoid that situation again.
Okay.
Not for me.
Ghostbusters. Are you a fan of one or two?
I am a fan of one.
What is it? What is it about one that you appreciated more than two?
The one is honestly because it was I remember being so young and watching that, and just Slimer being so cool. He was so gross, but so just amazing. I loved him, and everything about it was just hilarious. And really, the visuals for that time were kind of mind blowing. I mean,
Amazing.
now they're kind of hokey, but for then it was great.
It was awesome. And you know what I love about it too is as a child we loved it, right? I think you and I are about the same age. And
I love that, yeah.
and today when I watch it, there's a lot of the jokes that I never got as a child, so it's like watching a new movie. So
Oh yeah, I'll watch it probably every couple months, maybe.
oh,
Like 3 times a year.
I picked a good one to ask then, eh? I think I've only seen Ghostbusters 1 and 2 maybe 3 or 4 times each in my life.
No, I've seen them so many times.
That's awesome, dude. You really
So many times. I have Ghostbusters Lego upstairs.
that you know what?
Sitting on a shelf.
Is it opened or is it
It's still in the box because I don't trust myself to build it properly.
You know what? As a kid, I have to admit, as a child, I was into the cartoon series. And
Oh, yeah.
do you remember it was on around the same time as Ninja Turtles would come on? And if people really remember, there was also the New Kids on the Block cartoon. And
I remember that cartoon. You'd have to get through it in order to get to the rest of the day.
I didn't have to really get through it. I loved it. I have to admit.
That one, I wasn't big on that one.
There was also, and it was Superstars. Do you remember it had like Bo Jackson, Wayne Gretzky, and
Oh yeah, and Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan? That's it. Yeah, and
And then yeah, all of it, they would solve crime by throwing like explosive footballs and hockey pucks that would turn into weird things. Yeah.
I remember the
It was
hockey
great.
puck.
Wayne Gretzky would always have skates on, so he would just have them as rollerblades half the time.
Yes. So that was my like you remember that after these messages we'll be right back. Like that was my
yeah.
Saturday morning. and I had
I think that was our entire generation Saturday morning.
oh man, it's all coming back right now. My Pet
It
Monster.
was great.
I actually smoked weed with one of the guys who did voice of one of the guys from My Pet Monster. But anyways, I'm getting
That's kind of amazing.
It was, and he sounds just like it's Chucky. But anyways, when I was a kid, because I watched the Ghostbusters cartoon and Ninja Turtles, obviously, I had the sheets and the bedding that glue in the dark when you turn off the lights.
Oh, I
Everything.
had those.
You remember that?
Oh yeah, I had them.
And I had the thing that you had to build and put all the decals on, all the stickers and shit, and it was the
Oh, the firehouse.
firehouse. Yes, thank you. And they had remember the
did have
elevator?
that.
You could bring the elevator up and down.
Oh yeah, I wanted that.
I had it,
I wanted
man.
that, but I didn't have that one.
My-
I had most things. I'm not gonna lie. I had most things Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles, but I didn't actually have that.
I have to admit, my Bubby spoiled me. God rest her soul. But I remember my dad spending weeks putting all the stickers together and shit. But yeah, man, I wish I still had that thing. Anyways, let's jump into some fucking industry questions. Mind my French.
All right.
Okay, so do you remember your first rave experience? Where was it?
It was on an Ascension boat cruise in 2002. Actually, no, that's a lie. That was my first legal one. The week before, I went to a Cherry Beach party. And that was the first experience. The Cherry Beach one got rained out an hour after we arrived, though.
Oh, that sucks. And
Yeah, so I saw one of the Goodfellas DJs. I don't remember which one because I didn't know who DJs were yet at the time. Then the rain hit and we had to leave. And then, yeah, the next week was Ascension. And, yeah, kind of built from there, even though it was a trance party. And I'm not really that into trance. I like the idea of partying on a boat.
yeah, no parties. To be honest, big ups Ascension. I mean no disrespect in what I'm about to say. I was never a boat fan because I always wanted to be able to leave when I wanted to leave and not have to worry about taking a boat back to the shore if the boat wasn't ready to dock, kind of thing. You remember those taxi boats?
That's fair.
So I did them. And the other thing I had with as a bit of a qualm against boat parties was they were causing a disturbance for people on shore. Like if you remember, there was that big shit with the Toronto Island people complaining that the Sound Academy, but it wasn't the Sound Academy, it was the boats. The boats were
the party boats.
yeah, and it wasn't Ascension. I'm not singling them out. To be honest, they were mild compared to some of the boat parties that went on out there.
Yeah, it's like I've been on wedding boats that put Ascension to shame as far as noise goes, but that's a good thing because Ascension, I mean, Destiny knows what they're doing.
Jesse was always a very respectable, and he knew he always wanted to come back, so he would never do anything. That's why
you don't ruin your venue.
Exactly
Your
that.
venue includes the surrounding area.
But yeah, Ascension was always a fun, bubbly thing. It went on for a long time too.
Yeah, I got into it kind of late. There was only one more after that, I believe. Maybe two, but I mean, I went to them both. So yes, definitely two.
Okay. Are you still like? I assume you're still making music and spinning. Are you?
Indeed, I am.
Okay. I don't want to ruin the answer. To me, I've always thought of you as a separate sound. I incorporate you with a certain group. What would you say yourself, though? What's different about your sound than all else?
Gee, that's a hard question. For me, it's always been drum and bass, hardcore, all of those things. They were always the same to me. I mean, yes, there's obvious differences. They are different genres, but the roots are always the same, so I didn't understand why the elements were separated as much as they were with everyone else. So I don't really separate the elements. I like a sound, I play a sound. And most people I don't find do that. Some do, and some are amazing, though, I will say that.
Well, and what I would say, I agree with you, and I think of you when I think of Scartat. I should have wrote this down so people wouldn't know I was lying, but I was going to say hardcore. I was going to say when I think of a Scartat set, I think of drum and bass hardcore, and on the rougher side of things, like I think of you almost like I want to go to a mosh pit rather than dance.
Yeah, and that's kind of like that's the music I like. If I'm not playing, if I'm just listening to music, it's hard music. I mean, I'll listen to a Liquid Funk set if something's good. Sure, I'll give it a shot. I'll enjoy it, but I don't want to listen to that too much. I don't want to listen to a jump up set too much. I want to listen to stuff that is harder than it should be. Harder than anyone has any business liking. That's where I want it.
Yeah, the term hardcore gets thrown around so loosely. Sometimes I think people get confused. What do you mean when you say hardcore? Do you mean like slasher metal? Do you mean like that happy hardcore candy stuff? Do you mean that Rotterdam?
Well, kind of why I say hardcore, because yes, I do throw in the candy stuff. Yes, I'll throw in my Netherlands, Rotterdam hardcore, the Gabber, throw in the faster stuff, the breakcore, which if people don't know what that is, really, really fast jungle essentially, but with a lot less structure. But then, yeah, I'll throw in the thrash metal. I mean, one of my favorite songs to mix in for, forever now has got to be Hatebreed's I Will Be Heard. Love that track. But yeah, so I say hardcore and I mean all of it, really.
Yeah, no, thank you for the...
Basically, it's drum and bass is where we start, but where we end up, I don't know yet.
Do you, are you familiar with a group called the MFC team?
Sorry, out of it there.
What's that?
I didn't hear what you said. You got it.
Oh, no problem. Are you familiar with a group called the MFC team?
NF.
Mary, Frank, Charlie. MFC.
No.
Okay, well, I won't go too deep into them. They were a very hard, like when I first got into, let's say, Noisy or Evil Intent, when that real hard drum and bass sound started coming out.
Yeah.
I started looking for like the death metal of drum and bass, especially spinning with Ty at the time, or say I should say emceeing for Ty. He was really into that real heavy sound, right? And I found this group out of a place called Samara, Russia, which is part of the former Soviet Union. And dude, they gave me their phone number online, and it didn't work. I had to get in contact with the operator in Russia to connect them. And once I did, they didn't speak a word of English. It turned out they were using a translator to talk to me online. So they just started speaking Russian to me, right? So I then called one of my ex-girlfriends who was Russian, and her mom answered. My ex-girlfriend was nobody, but she agreed to conference into these guys and speak on behalf of us. So we had a dialogue for about 15 minutes of me and these two guys speaking to her, and we were going to bring these guys out. We were going to book them in and have like basically a rock concert / rave party. And
that would have been a lot of fun. I would have been in your crowd.
I know, but unfortunately it came down, and I was actually talking to I think it was Capital J recently about this, about artists who represent themselves independently, how sometimes it can just get complicated. In this case, it was a language barrier as well as legal things, like getting these guys out of their country to our country to perform wasn't going to happen. But anyways, when I think of your style of music, I always think of that story, and I'm sorry I dragged that on. But
that's awesome.
Where can we hear your stuff right now if I wanted to listen to a Scartat set?
Right now, every Thursday night at 8 p.m., I'm doing a radio show on Night Force Radio. So it's a Night Force, KNITEFORCE radio.com. So there every Thursday at 8. And then I'm with the Night Force label. So if you go to Beatport, iTunes, all of those stores, and just look me up, I'm in there. Most of it is the Night Force, or KFA, which stands for Night Force Again Records.
Okay. So Night Force, okay, spelled with the K. I was like, KFA stands for Night Force Records.
Night Force, KFA, that's basically where most of my musical energy is going right now, into that label or the radio station with those guys.
Well, we'll leave the link below. Sorry to cut you out. We'll leave the link below for people to reach out to that. Are you still producing it all?
Yeah, like I'm making tunes for Night Force. I'm still using the same name, Scartat. Same type of tracks, just hard drum and bass, hardcore. A lot of metal infused stuff that will be coming out soon. Actually have an EP coming out in April.
That's awesome. Tell me more about that.
It's going to be a 4-track EP, well, a 6-track EP if you buy it directly through the label's store, which I'll give you that at the time because no one's going to remember it now. But if you do it there, you get 6 tracks, 2 bonuses. If you wait...
Oh, you cutting out. Can you hear me, Rob?
I can hear you.
Okay, there. Got you back. You cut out there, buddy.
That's all right. So yeah, we got 4 tracks on it. We got 2 drum and bass, just pure hit you with the snares till your nose bleeds drum and bass. I got another one on there that's a little bit faster, around like the 200 BPM, which is just a whole lot of kick drums, a whole lot of nasty re-space, and some, porn samples, things like that. That are fun. And then we've actually got a collab with Ninja Farai on there as well, a Raga producer out of Toronto. Him and I made a great Raga track. The drums he did is amazing. Amazing work by Ninja Farai.
All right, well, yeah, please.
So yeah, that'll be out in April.
Share the details on where people could find that, because I'd love to share it with my listeners. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so you can find that the normal stores, Beatport, iTunes, everything like that. And also at nightforcerevolution.com.
All right, awesome. Once again, links will be below. What changes would you say you've noticed? I guess, hold on, let me first say, I think you and I first met around when you, I guess, got in the scene, 2002, 2003.
Pretty early after I got in, because we had some mutual friends, so yeah.
My ex-girlfriend, Tessa, knew you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, Tessa was good friends with my friend Maya.
And Maya was dating my friend Dan. This is a fun world. My best friend basically is Dan. If he's watching, big up, buddy. He's not in our scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Maya and Tessa were best friends, and they actually, I think, lived together for a little while.
A
And
little bit, I believe, yeah.
yeah, and we, they're best friends, and Dan and I best friends, and everyone dated. So it wasn't a far leap when I heard that Scartat, who was a junglist, was friends with my girlfriend at the time to get acquainted with him.
Yeah.
What would you say from the time that we met to today is the biggest thing that you've noticed or changes you've noticed in the scene?
Biggest change I've noticed in the scene is, it's kind of hard to explain. Almost a lack of attention. People seem to be less focused on the performers than they used to be, I find. It seems to be more of a, trying to say, because it's not necessarily a bad thing, so I have to be careful how I word this. People seem to be more focused on the event as a whole now versus the performers that it used to be before. Which, as a performer, is a little bit crappy. I mean, not gonna lie, I liked being the center of attention. But it's also kind of nice that there's more into it now. The dancers are more featured, the artwork on the wall, and the laser shows are a bigger deal now, and it matters that they're good now. And I really like that, but at the same time, as a performer, kind of sucks a little bit.
The spectacle around the performance, I forget what that's called. There's a word for this term, but I was talking to somebody at work recently about when you go to see AC/DC, for instance, and Angus comes out and starts doing what Angus does, where he like prances across.
Yeah.
I'm like, imagine if you went to see the symphony orchestra or the Philharmonic, and the guy came out playing his violin. He was like, "Wham a bam!" You'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Not gonna lie, I'd love that.
I would love it too, but the point is that good music is good music, and sometimes the spectacle is what you go to see. It's not even that they're good. Like Marilyn Manson most recently was in Toronto, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard about the meltdown he had the other day, but it was only 2 days after his show here in Toronto, and after the show here, people were telling me that it was horrible, that he was not engaged, that he just let his backtrack do most of the songs. He was either high or drunk.
I heard that too, that he didn't seem to be into the performance. I had friends in the crowd.
Well, okay, so
That's close to a meltdown. Yeah.
when it comes to somebody like Marilyn Manson, who, yeah, he's got great music, don't get me wrong. However, when you go to see him, you go to see the spectacle. So it has to be on. And when you go through what he's, let's say, going through, his inability to put on the spectacle and rely on his music doesn't work. Like, I would just think that if somebody, like, for instance, was playing the violin for a living and they were going through what Manson was going through, they could hide it behind their music. Because they could just go up and play the fucking violin. But when you've got to...
Yeah, but an artist like Manson is so much more than the music.
Exactly. It's the
The
spectacle.
visuals, it's the whole experience. It's the... I mean, even the opening bands play a very important part of setting up that experience.
You know, I
Make
saw...
sure that you're in the right mindset so that when an artist like Manson comes on, you're ready for that kind of visual.
Especially if you've never seen him. From what I could see in videos that were posted, he's kind of doing the same. It's like Alice Cooper, however, nowhere close to as legendary. And that's who I have to...
No one ages like Alice Cooper.
No, he's amazing still. But when I described the show I saw to my mom, she went, "That's the same show I saw like 30 years ago." And then when I saw him... You know, it's funny, actually, with Alice Cooper, I saw him with Motley Crue for the Alice Cooper farewell tour. And then the next year, I saw Motley Crue with Alice Cooper for Motley Crue's farewell tour. What the fuck is this? But I did go to both. And it's the same show. It's a carbon copy just over and over again, right? And Manson's pretty much the same thing. He's got his characters. He goes into the different atmospheres or aromas, if you will, as he sings his different albums. But yeah, I hope he gets better because it's sad to hear what he's going through right now.
I hope so as well. He's just one of the greatest artists of all time. I mean, just wish him nothing but the best.
Exactly. What would you say was the pinnacle of our scene for you?
The pinnacle for me?
For you, yeah.
Probably around like 2005-ish, when the theory parties are going big and strong. A little bit before like System was going major UK headliner every week, when it was, you know, a little bit more spread out, and those parties were just mind-blowing. I mean, they changed me. the fact that you could see like a dark headliner in the same party as a jump up headliner, it was just so much better. Loved it.
Yes.
But that would be it for me. Like, I remember going to see Ed Rush and Optical, and then there was Pendulum as well, who were brand new at the time. And just hearing tracks that, I mean, they ended up being anthems, but that you'd never heard before, it just blew you away. Things like, you know, the first time you heard Another Planet. I mean, it's played out to death now, but that first time, oh my God.
What was the one where it's a real mean killing and the wrong guy died? They buried his body, but his soul survived. What was that?
Oh my goodness. This is going to bother me because
I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, holy shit, who are these guys? And we went and saw them at System Soundbar.
Through my records right now.
I could, yeah, to be honest, I guess I could Google it, but I don't want, and it was just heavy. That first.
It was a Fresh tune, wasn't it?
I don't know. To be honest, Fresh was. There was a lot of politics around the whole Fresh, El Hornet, Pendulum. I don't. You know what I mean? So like when somebody goes, "Oh, that was actually."
There was a lot of. I try not to pay attention.
Exactly that. But yeah, like
there was stuff.
Yeah, from what okay, you know what? I'll say what I think I know, or I'll say what I know, and people can correct me. Is Pendulum was 3 guys. Only one of them can spin. The other 2 produced. El Hornet was the DJ. I'm not sure on what I just said, but that's what I think I remember. And then DJ Fresh had a lot to do with their production. Like he had his hand in a lot of what they were doing. But yes, please, if somebody's hearing what I'm saying right now and can correct me on this, I will Google it.
I believe 2 of them could DJ.
Is that right?
But I can't remember who the other one was. I know, like, El Hornet was the bigger of the DJs, but then towards, like, in the System Soundbar days, I remember they sent a different person. It wasn't Hornet.
No, see, and here's the thing. At that party, when they first came down to that System Soundbar jam, I was at the back. If you remember, that's when they had flipped System Soundbar around. Like, it was...
Yeah, that was one of the first, or it might have been the first one.
To be honest, I don't remember if it was the first, but I remember it was backwards, and I was at what used to be the front, and dude, that was my place. You know what I mean? So once they started throwing parties and they flipped it to the other side, I stopped going to the front of the stages. I just hung out in the back because I like being by the doors, just like me on the boat, for instance. I don't want to be where I can't just fucking leave. You know what I mean? So
that's fair.
It is. Call it claustrophobic.
I found a new spot. I remember my spot very well. It was right by the pillar, right after the air conditioning event.
And that's to what you just described to me. That's a place I used to see all the kids like hate out, leaned up against the pillar. Like,
yeah, I would go in, I would get that spot, and then eventually when I'd go to get a drink, I'd come back and there'd be someone who had taken it, and I'd be sad.
And I'd be sad. But no,
it
is. It's cool to
remember. Be social and actually, talk to people.
And you know what? I miss that place, man. That was a really, really like a home base for drum and bass. And thank you to guys like.
We were very spoiled when that was happening.
We were. And
like it was so good that we didn't realize how good it was.
Such is life.
Like looking back on it now and the things that we had during that time, my goodness, we were spoiled.
Well, and here's what I was trying to say. Thank you to guys like Ryan Ruckus and whoever else. I'm sorry if I but Ruckus was the big thing around. Hustlin' Beats was doing so much there. The Body Rock parties.
Obviously not just him, but he was definitely the main guy.
Exactly, and that's why I hate saying names sometimes because it's like, well, you forgot these 6 other people that helped. But to say that we were spoiled, when I look at the time, the era we were in at that point, it's just that the people that were doing it have kind of grown up, and maybe as their lives rearrange again and children get older and they can come back to the scene, we'll see it again. But I think it's there. If we build it, they will come. If promoters would come together and unify and throw parties the way, those guys from those different crews who did work together well. I
agree.
There's not enough unification at this point, No,
that is one thing. That's another thing I definitely noticed. Promoters now, I mean, there was always competition, but it seemed to be more friendly competition before. I mean, you obviously wanted to throw the best party and be involved with the best event, but you wanted all the other events to succeed. Everyone understood that a good event from someone else meant more people will then come to your event. But now people just kind of do their own thing. But it's not going to take much to get people back together. I mean, to be fair, the group Bass Driven in Toronto, they do a lot of collabs with local promoters, and they all turn out great.
Yeah, it's just got to do it. Just got to do it, not worry about other people and what they're doing. Just got to do it, you know?
Just do it, hope that your event goes well, and hope everyone else's events go well. And if other people need help, help them. And when you need help, they'll help you.
Let's hope. All right, buddy. I got one last question for you. We had said that we were only going to do about 15, 20. We're almost going on, 35 plus minutes. So I really appreciate you taking all this time to chat, man.
Oh, no problem.
The last question, my infamous vault question. If you could take 5 items to put into a vault that would encapsulate our rave culture, what would those 5 items be?
5 letters for rave culture?
Not letters, items.
Oh, 5 items. Okay,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes so much
pick
more
letters. Yeah, it should limit you to letters. You have to pick
Like, what, you want me
5
to
of them.
say plur? Okay.
No vowels.
Okay. 5 items. A set of headphones.
Okay.
Pair of records, some turntables.
I'm gonna count the. Hold on, Brad. That's one item. I'm not making you. You can't break down the whole
so
setup
the
of.
DJ gear is one item. All right, so DJ gear. Are we counting a microphone in there too? We'll just pick
You know
a
what?
gear.
Hold on. Let me stop you right there. I've interviewed. You're my 13th interview, and out of the 13 interviews, I think 12 people have put in the DJ equipment. But you're the first one without me asking that has volunteered to put in a microphone.
Well, I mean, MCs are important too.
MCs are important too, Rob. Thank you. Thank you for that.
MCs get a bad rap because when they're bad, they're on the microphone and everyone knows they're bad. And when they're good, they don't really get the respect they deserve.
I appreciate that. Can I defend bad MCs for a moment? Sometimes it's unfair when the volume is at the level it's at and the MC is forced to cup the microphone and hold it to their tongue to judge them. Yes, there are horrible MCs that should never even be on a microphone, but I myself am a person who has to hold a microphone a good 3 feet away from my face if I'm going to use my voice correctly. So
Yes.
if you've ever been stuck with the kind of noise, you can appreciate that it's like, wow, this MC sounds like shit. Yeah, well, the sound guy's not giving him a chance, you know? But
Well, I mean, the sound guys, sometimes they just like to ruin performances.
that, and I think that it's a catch-22 because what ends up happening is you get an MC that maybe is good at doesn't know how to hold a mic, so then they just cup it right away, and then the sound guy just turns it right down. And then
Yeah.
now it's a back and forth war. And then let's say you've got a guy like, for instance, MC Caddy Cat to me, he conducts it very well because he puts his own mic in and nobody else is really around for the most part unless it's a UK or somebody who's professionally been with. But they're not grabbing their caddy's mic, they're using their own. But he's kept his volume to a level. He stands in a spot so there's no feedback. You know, these other MCs, they grab a caddy mic and put it to their mouth and stand right next to the DJ. You know what I mean? It's like,
You can't do that. I mean, okay, any MCs who are listening, watch Caddy Cat, that name that was just brought up. That is how you do it.
it's exactly how you do it, man. He's exactly.
You say your lines, you get your lines in, but you don't talk over vocals, you don't mess up the mixing. You work with the DJ.
Yeah, you compliment them. And Caddy's, I interviewed him a few weeks ago, and we talked about his introduction to drum and bass and not understanding when he was supposed to chat versus let the music run. And
It's difficult. I mean, I can't do it.
well, it's you got to listen, you've got to watch, and it's a partnership. There's almost a sense of, you know, even as an MC, when I would step up against certain DJs, you felt a connection to some. You know, it was like you really knew what this guy was doing, whereas other guys you were just like, you just didn't jive with.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's about finding that unity between, and like, you know, your Andy C. GQ or your Brock and Det, or sorry, Brocky and Det.
Yeah.
These guys just are like peas and carrots. But okay, so we only got one item so far. That's the DJ equipment
so
with
we
a
got
mic.
The DJ equipment. UFOs. Can't
Clothing.
ever escape the UFOs.
Yeah, man. We threw Snug in UFO yesterday, so I'm loving it. That's awesome,
So
man.
we got the DJ equipment. We got UFOs. Honestly, a cassette player, because that is how I got into the rave scene in the first place, was friends playing cassettes. Those old school tapes.
You know, it's a good point, and most people who've thrown in tapes in my past interviews, nobody's thrown in a player. So we'd have all these tapes in our vault and nothing to play them with. So I'm glad you just threw in a cassette player. Thank you. All right, that's 3 items. 2 more to go.
All right, flyer.
Which one? Like, do you have one specific one that shines to you? Where you're like, fuck, that's like the king of flyers in my head?
You know what? Not really. To me, it was always like you leave the party, you get a whole bunch of flyers, and you just kind of enjoyed the artwork. I mean, I and so many other people used to have flyer walls. There was no one flyer that really stood out to me, unless it was like a big one like Lem's, and then it would just be the size that caught your eye. But yeah, no flyer in particular, just like early 2000s rave flyers.
I miss them,
bright
man.
artwork stuff by like Disco Toast.
To be honest, I don't remember the different artists that did all the different flyers, but you're right. I miss them, and I miss hanging them on my wall. You know, having a room collection of walls of flyers in my bedroom, you know?
I mean, I honestly think that's part of why we have a little bit less people in the scene these days. Flyers. I mean, you can't just promote on Facebook. But anyways, we go back to your 5 things here. What are we at? 3?
4.
3?
4.
So we got one more?
One more.
Ooh, one more. Oh no. Last item. Gotta go with the whistle.
Yeah, good
As
call.
much as I hated them, I gotta go with the whistle.
You hated the whistle. Come on.
I hated the whistle. I went to one hullabaloo, heard all those whistles, and it was ruined forever for me.
Oh, well, you know what? And Hullabaloo wasn't even the worst for it. To be honest, I shouldn't talk about back in the day because I wasn't really accustomed to it. But when my first party, I remember the horns and the whistles, dude, being so deafening. And yeah, happy hardcore kids, they used to do like the beats, the toot 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 toot. Like they would try and whistle with it,
try to
right?
keep up with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas at a jungle party, they would just fucking and they'd have horns and you're like, holy shit!
Yeah, I definitely remember that.
It was just deafening sounds. I'd
forgotten about the horns, but oh my goodness.
They were huge. And you were talking actually, Reese, about one of the things you think that's changed is that people are more focused around the extracurriculars at the party rather than focusing on the entertainment. And
yeah.
I think that that's been a long time. Some of the best parties, in my opinion, when I look back at them, were the ones that had the dancers on stage, the lasers, we were talking, Mr. Brown and I, about Soul in Motion and some of the amenities that they threw in. Like, you'd walk in and you get a bottle of water with a little bag, and in that bag there'd be maybe like a couple stickers, a lighter, and a whistle.
Yeah.
You know? And he talked about how they would actually give horns to people in the crowd just so that on the tapes, because they were doing recordings of the sets, they wanted to hear the horns crew. And he's like, we can't rely on people to bring... Yeah, it is. You can't rely on people to bring a horn, so we'll just give them out at the door. And fucking sure enough, these tapes sound classics because they've got horns all over the venue. Sounds like there's 2,000 people when really it's only maybe 700. But
it's good call, James. That's a smart idea.
Very smart. And I have to give kudos to the promoters for thinking like that and sharing their secrets with me that I can share with you. You know what I mean? Very Vince McMahon-y of him. But anyways, I don't want to take you up too much more of your time, so I'm going to let you go.
All right, man.
Thank you so much. Can you do me a favor and just message me those links so that I can share them when I post this video?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. And when I get a better setup, I want to do this again, okay? So we got to chat again soon, okay, buddy?
All right, sounds good, man.
All right, take care, Mr. Scartat.
Have a good one, dude.
You too, buddy. Ciao.
Later.
There he is, DJ Scartat. So yes, thank you, Mr. Scartat, for doing that. And like I said, he's a guy. If you ever get a chance to listen to his music, it really is a mix between hardcore and drum and bass, and it's fun. There's only a few guys that have done it correctly. I've heard some people that do it, and it just sounds wrong. But this guy, and I would check out my boy Dubcom if he's. I don't know if he likes me sharing his name out there, but and the MFC team, if you can find them, Google them. But anyways, as always, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, peace out.